Hi, I'm Bob Gimlin. The term Yeti is derived from the Himalayan mountain region that encompasses Nepal, Tibet, and Bhutan. The way we say and spell Yeti comes from this Tibetan word, Dred. The Tibetan dialect pronounces R's as silent when accompanied with two D's, so it sounds like Yeti, which was interpreted by white Westerners as Yeti. Yeti, and this is debated, directly translates to mountain bear. I think it is highly likely that the Tid did not specifically mean bear, but meant large or hairy or beast. Much like how in the ancient Germanic languages, bear, or brun technically means brown, but gained a different use when applied to bear. Not all terms used by people indigenous to the Himalayan region are so unclear. Miche means man bear, Boon Manchi means jungle man, Kang Admi means snow person, and Murka means wild man. Regardless of what you would like to call it, the locals have obviously been seeing it for a long time, as have the Westerners. In 1925, a Greek photographer named N.A. Timbazi was contracted with a British geological expedition. In his book entitled Account of a Photographic Expedition to the Southern Glaciers in Sikkim, Himalaya, a book which has nothing to do with Yeti, by the way, Timbazi recounts that from 300 yards, he and his guides viewed, quote, the figure in outline was like a human being, walking upright and stopping occasionally to uproot or pull at some dwarf rhododendron bushes. It showed up dark against the snow, and as far as I could make out, he wore no clothes. Timbazi and his Sherpa guides spent 2 hours to travel a mere 300 yards, no easy feat in the Himalayan mountains, to travel off course to where they saw the creature. Timbazi managed to locate the creature's tracks in the fresh snow. He wrote that they were, quote, similar in shape to those of a man, but only 6 to 7 inches long by 4 inches wide. The prints were undoubtedly those of a biped. It should be noted that Timbazi did not believe in Yeti. He thought the prints were of a young traveling hermit. His guides were adamant that the creature they saw, as well as the ensuing tracks, were from a Yeti. Notably, and perhaps obviously, because no hermit, particularly a young one, as the tracks implied, could have been traveling naked and evidently barefoot in the rocky, cold environment of the Zimu glaciers. This is one of those stories where probability comes immensely into play. Sherpa and Europeans saw a small, upright figure with no clothes or shoes in one of the most inhospitable regions of the earth. The Sherpa said it was not a human. The Westerner said it was human. If the Sherpa said no human, particularly a kid, would or could be wandering around naked, I'm inclined to side with the Sherpa. The real shame is that N.A. Timbazi, the photographer, didn't take any pictures or photos of the alleged footprints. But I suppose it was a different time. Before Timbazi's experience in 1925, an English scholar named James Prinsep, living in British-occupied India, and seen here engraved on a commemorative coin, recorded that in 1832, an explorer named B.H. Hodgson, as well as his guides, spotted a tall, hairy biped fleeing into the woodline on the Himalayan slopes of India. Hodgson concluded it was an orangutan. Of course, his guides disagreed, because they knew what orangutan are. And I should note that the scholar Prinsep, who reported the incident, neither confirmed or denied that the sighting was of a Yeti, or an orangutan, but he certainly thought it deserved further inquiry, which is what good scholars do. In 1915, Slavomir Rawicz was born in Poland. He was the son of a Russian landowner. He joined the Polish Army Reserve, where he underwent officer training. After the Nazis crushed the Polish army in 1939, Rawicz fled to what he thought was the ethnic safety of his home Russia. But he was promptly arrested, and a rigged trial sent him to a Siberian prison camp, or gulag. During a blizzard in 1941, Rawicz and 6 other prisoners escaped the gulag and made an 11-month walk from Siberia to India. Forget about the war for a moment. Walking through the Gobi Desert, and then the treacherous Himalayan mountains, with possible Soviet pursuers, is no easy feat. After his rescue by a Gurkha patrol on the border of India, Rawicz supervises the ghostwriting of a book about his experience. The book is entitled The Long Walk. In the book, Rawicz claims that at one point of their trek, their path was blocked for 2 hours after the group observed 2 large bipedal animals, quote, shuffling in the snow. The group wanted to give the animals plenty of time to continue on their way before safely passing through the area. Now, it's very important to understand that Rawicz's book, The Long Walk, included Nazi invasions, fleeing Nazi-controlled territory, arrest by the Soviet Union, a rigged trial, torture conducted by the KGB, escaping a gulag during the dead of night in a winter storm, and a group of 7 escapees, including an American who identified himself only as an engineer named Mr. Smith. During an 11-month trek across the Gobi Desert and the Himalayan mountains. What I'm trying to say in so many words is that this tale has plenty of very real drama. It did not need to include a monster story. It isn't that kind of book. The narrative had plenty of very real intrigue. Why would the author fabricate that one detail to risk the credibility of an otherwise epic and true account? This is a fantastic narrative in itself, and does not require any supernatural drama. So I am only left with the conclusion that Rawicz and his companions experienced exactly what was recorded, exactly what they said happened. There have been numerous scalps and hands which allegedly belong to Yeti. Some have been tested, most haven't. None of them have had any indication that they belong to anything like a higher primate. And there's a damn good reason for that. Whereas I would call this potential physical evidence, these fine people would call a relic. It is religious to them. It is sacred to them. And Westerners are known for pillaging and taking and looting, with no regard for sacred sentiment. Think about it. If you had in your possession something that you consider to be sacred, and you knew damn well that people who have no appreciation for such traditions are trying to take it, would you leave it where it could be found? Or would you hide it? Maybe this is a replica of what was once a real Yeti scalp, but the real one is hidden deep in a mountain monastery. Obviously, there is no shortage of places to hide in the Himalayas. Or more likely, the scalp is ceremonious in nature, and real or not, they don't want Westerners to steal it, or even simply intrude on their customs. I certainly wouldn't blame them. Anyway, we have had no such luck locating such a specimen in North America, so there really is no reason to think that the Tibetans would fare any better. Sasquatch advocates won't be surprised by this, but skeptics should be alarmed more than anything at how the Sagital Crest seen on this gorilla is the same thing that Albert Ostman described in a time before primatology or any ape photography existed. Ostman described creatures with, quote, wide jaws and a narrow forehead that slanted upward at the back that slanted upward 5 or 6 inches higher than the forehead. Which to a T is what you see here. Continents, oceans, and hundreds of years separate these consistencies, and yet they are all too often dismally set aside, and I have no idea why. So whether or not the people of the Himalayas have or ever have had a Yeti scalp is a moot point. I suspect they would go to great lengths to conceal their sacred artifacts, just like everyone else does. If a, say, Christian possessed a relic or holy item, like, say, the Ark of the Covenant, and say someone wanted it, the Christians would entrench, and if that failed, they would hide it. And there is no shortage of places to hide here, for Yeti, or their scalps. There is one aspect of Yeti behavior that did not properly translate from Himalayan to Western culture. The Sherpa, or the indigenous mountaineers, do not believe that Yeti inhabit the high cliffs and snowy peaks of the Himalaya mountains. They simply, and reasonably, believe that a person is most likely to see a Yeti, or evidence of Yeti passage, when a Yeti is traversing the mountainscape to get from one valley to another, the valleys they actually inhabit. It is safe to say that the red on this map is a fairly accurate range of the Yeti. This may go without saying, but if there's anywhere in the world for a large upright biped to hide, it's here. I believe the red areas you are seeing on this map is exceptional habitat for Yeti, or Almas as they are called to the north, and Yeren as they are called to the east. This map depicts a likely range of the Yeti because it depicts the actual range of a different elusive animal known as the snow leopard. If a snow leopard can survive here, and just as importantly, the snow leopard's prey, then surely small populations of upright primates could survive here as well. Particularly if you consider that a primate, like Yeti, has a more varied diet than the leopard, and can therefore utilize more diverse food resources. This map also brings up an argument in logic and probability. A snow leopard's pelt is worth up to $15,000. A snow leopard's skull can easily bring in $1,500. Not to mention that much of the human population that inhabit this land are subsistence farmers who raise sheep, horse, and goat, which snow leopards obviously consume. So for the price of one round, or some poison, or some simple snares, a poor farmer can make well over $15,000 while at the same time protecting his existing assets in the form of cattle from snow leopard predation. I'm trying to say that this is a poor, poor region, and frankly, there are $1,000 bills wrapped in $10,000 bills roaming these poor, desolate regions. Frankly, if snow leopards could be poached to extinction, they would be. But the red of this map is clearly too desolate and inaccessible for even some of the most desperate and poor people on the whole planet. And if snow leopards can thrive here unmolested by those men who are sadly driven by either desperation or greed, then surely an animal much smarter than a cat can survive as well. Think about it. Thousands of poachers descend on these valleys and peaks every year to take as many leopards as they possibly can. And since snow leopards are not extinct, the humans are failing. They are unable to effectively penetrate the red on this map. Humans cannot successfully poach snow leopards, and there are actual leopard hunters. Keep that in mind while considering that no one is out here looking for Yeti. I mean, who is? A reality show that makes a Yeti special once every 2 years? If leopards live here, but cannot actually be found here, while half the human population is actually actively hunting them, then a higher primate, like Oma, or Sasquatch, or Yeti, or Yeren, or Manchi, or Miche, or Merca, or Kang and Me, or Natewo, then surely they can thrive unmolested as well. Snow leopards inhabit regions where they are constantly hunted. They are only alive today because they have mastered an environment which humans simply cannot. Just like this guy, or gal, and all his subspecies and cousins have dominion over environments which we as humans simply cannot master. And that freaks a lot of people out. That there actually are parts of the world and the earth which humans cannot claim as our own. So like in North America, we have a wilderness area, desolate enough to be virtually impenetrable. An area with cultural and modern reports of something which is clearly the master of its environment. Just as we survive in our habitats, they thrive in theirs. Their very survival depends upon living where humans cannot, and where better than the Himalayan mountains and Siberia. And it's clearly working for them. But that is my perspective on the Yeti. Let me know what you think. And I actually wanted to mention one more thing. You may have noticed that this is the first video I posted in a few weeks. This is because I have a full-time job, a part-time job, familial obligations, and something of a social life. And I'm even flirting with going back for higher education. See, I have this black book with approximately Well, I guess I shouldn't say approximately. I have exactly 422 Bigfoot topics that I've outlined, and I would love to share them. But these videos take time, and I don't have a lot of that. I would love to quit my part-time job and replace that with producing content. But money is important these days. You may have noticed. And no, this is not the part where I ask for money, or tips, or GoFundMe, nor do I want you to buy me a cup of coffee. You need your money, just like I need mine. But if you do want to support me, and help me have the time to pursue this passion of mine, then like my video, share them with your friends, and share them with any groups you may belong to. I don't want your money, but I would appreciate just a few seconds of your time, which I know is scarce these days. Regardless, I would really appreciate a like and a share, so that I can continue to do what no one else here really seems to be doing. Anyhow, I have some more stuff to say about the Yeti, but that is a topic for a different video. Video 62, actually. But patience is a virtue, some people say, and I guess you can look at it that way. Anyhow, perhaps tonight more than ever, thanks an awful lot for listening.